Once you learn the self-discipline rule that I'm about to teach you, you're going to finally understand why you haven't been able to follow through on your goals consistently, and you're going to figure out how to get yourself to actually do what you say you're going to do and become the most disciplined person that you know. This is something that really happened for me. I used to be really not disciplined at all, and then once I learned this rule that I'm going to teach you, that completely changed everything. I started blogging every day for 2 years. 730 days in a row, I never missed a day. And I'm going to teach you how to have that same discipline today. Because the truth is, the path to your goal is painfully simple. You know what you need to be doing. The only thing standing between where you are right now and where you want to go is you taking the action. So today I'm going to teach you 3 key things. The first is why you're not following through. Once you can understand why you haven't been following through and exactly what's going on, you can learn to overcome it. The second thing is I'm going to teach you that self-discipline rule that has completely changed my life. And the third thing is I'm going to teach you how to actually implement that and use it in your own life. If you don't know me, my name's Sarah. I'm a high-performance coach, and on this channel, I help you take more action and execute your biggest goals. The first thing you need to know is why you're not following through. You have to understand that it is your brain's job to stop you from doing it. It is not your fault. Your brain does not want you to expend any extra energy than it has to, ever, like at all. If you are doing something that is not necessary to your survival, your brain wants you to stop it. Your brain does not want you to send emails. It doesn't want you to go to the gym. It doesn't want you to follow through on your goals, because if you do, it thinks that you might use up energy that you might need later on for facing a tiger or foraging for berries or doing something that's going to keep you alive. Your brain is wired to stop you from taking action. So there's actually a conflict going on. There's a conflict between your past self and your present self. They want different things. What your past self wants for you is to do the thing that it planned for you to do, and your present self wants you to do nothing. Because of that conflict, self-discipline boils down to just one thing. Who makes the decisions? Does your past self make the decisions for your life, or does your present self make the decisions? The difference is everything. For example, let's say you have a business and you have a goal to get more customers. So your past self made a decision that at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, you were going to send sales emails. And now it's 2 o'clock on Wednesday and your present self does not want to do it. Your present self would rather be doing anything else, and it comes up with a ton of really legitimate sounding reasons for why you should not follow through. So whether or not you are disciplined comes down to who is making the decisions in your life. Is it your past self that's making the decisions, or is it your present self who makes the decisions? I like to think of it like my past self is the adult in the relationship, and my present self is a toddler. Because my adult self makes good decisions. She decides things for my best interest. My toddler self doesn't make good decisions. My toddler self just wants to do whatever she wants in that moment. And we all know what happens when you let the toddler decide. The toddler is going to completely ruin the day and just do whatever it wants because it reacts just to how it feels in the moment. So if you let your toddler self, your present self, change the decisions that your past self made, then that will always keep you in lack of discipline. And it means you will not follow through on your goals. And ultimately, you're not going to get what you want in your whole life because you're not going to have the discipline to actually show up and do it. But if you follow through with what your past self decided, even though you don't want to, that is having self-discipline. So that brings me to the self-discipline rule. This is my rule that I use for myself, and it has completely changed my life. Once I started implementing this, and once you do too, I promise you it is going to completely change everything. I never let my present self make decisions at all. Not for herself, ever. The only decisions that my present self gets to make is for her future self, in which case she's actually the past self making a decision for a future present self. But I never let my present self make a decision about what I'm going to do in that moment. Let's define what your past self and your present self actually are. So your past self is any version of you before today. So any version of you before you woke up this morning is your past self. Your present self is just you today. Any version of me until I go to sleep and wake up in the morning, that is my present self. My past self gets to make all of the decisions for my future self at least one day in advance. If my present self makes a decision, that is only because she's acting as the past self for a future self tomorrow. She cannot make decisions for herself in the moment. That is the rule. If this is interesting to you, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to get more insights like this. I actually used this rule for myself right before recording this video. My brain was saying to me, hey, you know what would actually be a much better use of your time is if you batch create your videos. So don't film today. Why not spend this time instead doing something else, and then later on you can create more videos? It literally said that to me, and I had to catch it and go, no, this is the toddler talking. This is my brain telling me that it doesn't need to do the thing because it doesn't want to expend the energy right now and you should do something else. My toddler self is going to do anything it can to get out of doing the thing that my past self planned, that my adult self made a decision for. And the reasons are going to sound so real. They're very convincing, and you're going to be like, you know what, it is a good idea to batch content, or maybe now isn't the best time to do this, or yeah, it's raining today, or I'm hungry right now, or I'm not quite tired. Like, there's going to be a ton of reasons, and you cannot let those reasons win. You have to remember that your past self knew what they were doing when they made the decision to do this. I had to tell myself this right now. My past self made a decision for me to film this video today because of a good reason. I've got a whole plan. This fits in with a project. If I don't do this now, then it's going to push everything out until later. I have to remind myself that there was a reason that my past self scheduled for me to do this. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was trying to help me. She wants me to succeed, and that is why she scheduled and decided that this is what we'd be doing today. So here I am deciding to do it. Okay, so let's talk about the third thing, which is how to actually implement this rule. Your brain is probably telling you right now that it is not kind to do this, that you need compassion, that you need to give yourself breaks in the moment, and that what if you don't feel like doing it and you actually really need to be kind to yourself? Here's the truth about that. You do need to be kind to yourself. You absolutely should be more kind to yourself. And the way that you're going to do that is by planning kind things in advance. So your past self needs to be kind to you, not your present self. You have to make decisions from your past self that are going to be good for your present self. Like, for example, sometimes I schedule to watch TV at like 11 a.m. in the morning, in the middle of my workday, because I know that my present self would really appreciate that. I'm not scheduling this evil calendar for myself that's like perfectly regimented and there's no breaks and there's no fun at all ever. That's really sucky to have to follow through with. There's no way my brain's going to want to follow through with that, and I'm just going to end up hating the whole process of following through. It is so much easier to discipline yourself and follow through on what you know you need to do when you know that you've actually been kind to yourself. So instead of giving yourself compassion in the moment and letting yourself have a break or letting yourself off the hook, I want you to give yourself the compassion in advance. Let your past self make great decisions for your present self. So you've got to be super kind as the adults in order to make the toddler actually want to do the thing. Now, that doesn't mean you always schedule all the nice things. Sometimes the toddler has to do things the toddler doesn't want to do. But you can create a schedule and a calendar that includes kind things so that you're not just disciplining yourself to do the things you don't want to do, you're also disciplining yourself to do the things you do want to do. How fun is it going to be to discipline yourself at 10 a.m. on Friday to scroll through Pinterest for 30 minutes? That's so fun, right? Because your past self made nice decisions, and that way you can trust your past self to really look after you. But you have to be kind. In order to implement this, in order to make it work, you have got to actually be kind to yourself in advance and make the decision to be compassionate and make you follow through on things that are actually good for you all around, and not just things that are going to work, right? We're going to do things that are nice. And that way, following through feels like something you know is good for you. It feels like discipline is actually joyful. And that is really what's made the difference for me, is when I started thinking of discipline as a joy and not as something that was like militant and hard and horrible. I like to think of self-discipline as actually one of the most kind things that you can possibly do for yourself. But you can only do that if you're actually kind with what you're disciplining yourself to do. So you want to make kind decisions from your past self and then only let your past self make the decisions for your present self. Never let your present self make a decision for themselves. And that is how you will become the most disciplined person that you know. So now that you know how to be disciplined, how do you get yourself to be motivated to actually do it? Well, I made a video showing you exactly how I get and stay extremely, insanely motivated. So you want to check that out. I'll leave it in the description and on the end of the screen. And I will talk to you in the next video.